always recognised that. And the other thing I recall is that there was a construction manager from the contractor. He was older than me. He'd been around the world. And he said, some of the Albanians that are working for us, I would take anywhere in the world. So not only did we get the help from the government, we had the locals to support us. And that made our life a lot easier, because you don't have to bring people in, accommodate them. Expats always want to change things. If you treat a local with respect, tell him what to do, train him, he will do it. And that was
well
proven.
paid, well insured, well
yes.
protected.
Yeah, look after him. Yeah.
And then?
Then, I mean, I decided I wanted to stay in Albania when I was working for TAP. So
really?
I invested in a property when I was still working for TAP.
This was anyway your last job in the company,
I knew
right?
it would be the end of my career.
Yes, in terms of active career.
Yeah, 40-odd years working away from home, most of that career. Like I say, in various countries all throughout the world. So I decided that I would semi-retire, because I don't like the word retire.
Exactly. I did mention.
So I decided that Albania was the place. And why did I decide that?
But how many countries you have been?
I started off in Kazakhstan. I went to Kazakhstan in 1992. And I spent 12 years, not all in one go, but in 3 different projects. So a lot of my career was in Kazakhstan. And I saw it after the breakup of the Soviet Union. And I saw it after a lot of oil and gas investment. And that was a magical journey, both good and bad. I saw the good side and the bad side of putting money into a country. From there, I took the family, this was a good experience, to Singapore. It was a project offshore Burma, Myanmar, but we were based in Singapore, and then I moved the family to Burma. Now, Burma was under a military regime,
yes.
Very, very poor. We were restricted, our telephones were tapped, you had to get permission not only to come in the country, but to leave the country. But what an experience, especially for my young girls. I've got two girls.
God bless them.
And they went from Singapore, where it's I want this, I want that, money, 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 to seeing real poverty, but in an environment where people looked after each other. So although they were suppressed, they were the most happiest people I've ever come across. I call it a real smile. And I call Singapore a plastic smile, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, because during dictatorship here it was horrible, but we laughed a lot.
Yeah.
So people used to laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Laugh a lot. It was the only way to somehow escape the hell was through jokes.
Yeah.
And jokes were also the only way to kind of undermine the thing without really exposing yourself, and the laughter was a big consolation, and we laughed a lot. And everyone of at least of my circle, my generation, says we don't laugh anymore like we used to do.
Yeah, interesting, really interesting.
Yeah.
So from there, I went back to Kazakhstan for another project, and I saw the difference, like I mentioned. But then I went to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, which again was a fascinating place.
Beautiful country, huh?
Beautiful country, small island, small population, wealthy with oil and gas, and also like methanol, massive. In fact, it was the biggest methanol producer in the world. All the gas was exported to the States. But I still, when we were going to the field, which was really in a tropical environment, you'd see people washing themselves at the side of the road with from a cold water tap. They didn't have running water in the houses. And that's a real issue, that the country was wealthy, but it didn't flow down. And a similar thing in Kazakhstan, but not as bad. It was so obvious in Trinidad that there was this just huge divide for such a small island. But that was a great place. The family used to visit me for obvious reasons, so I had plenty of visits during the holidays. From there back to Kazakhstan, from Kazakhstan to Australia, which was a great project, massive project, and then from Australia to Albania.
So from all the nests you migrated, Albania was the one you picked to stay.
Yes.
And you invested in a property. What you did where?
It's an apartment near Teg.
Here?
Yes.
I mean, you are Tirana resident.
Yes.
If I can use this word.
Yes.
And you go back and forth
Yes.
in London?
I live in the southwest, a nice place, Devon, which is a couple of 100 kilometres from London. So it's a contrasting life. Having moved around, I find it hard to stay in one place. And the contrast between Albania, I've got a place here which is a new place. Back home, my house is 130 years old. With a big garden, so I don't have a garden here, but back there I do. And the contrast between the two keeps me active and keeps me entertained and occupied. For me to stay in one place, I would get very nervous. And
how you distribute the
It's roughly,
time?
I would say, 60% Albania, 40% in
your family. What they say? They say you are okay. There is something wrong with you.
No, they love Albania. My two girls are grown up. One's in Australia, so obviously, she doesn't come to Albania. She's been many times, but obviously the distance prevents that. My other daughter is in Scotland, and it's interesting, really. I can get to Scotland quicker from Albania than I can from the southwest, because the southwest I would drive. It would take 8 hours. Here, there's a flight to Edinburgh, and it takes me 4 hours, well, less, 3 hours.
3 hours and something.
Yeah, and then half an hour across to Glasgow. So, my children, when they were children, or younger at least, have been out here